Hi, this is Marlene, Astrologer Extraordinaire. How's everybody doing today? Hope you're having a great day. It's a gorgeous day here. I'm sitting out on the water, so I thought I would just chime in. I was looking at a few tarot readers today, and I do watch a number of tarot readers over the years, checking out other material, seeing what people are talking about, and a lot of times you'll notice, like, let's say you were watching a particular tarot reader 5 years ago and you still look at some of their material today, where maybe 5 years ago what was going on in your life was really quite relevant, but you notice, maybe today or the last few years it really hasn't. It's shifted. And that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that tarot reader at all. They may still be obviously a very good tarot reader, but what's shifted in your world no longer resonates with what they're picking up in the field. So we find that, as we go on. So what I was going to mention is that what's coming up a lot is because we happen to have a Mercury retrograde cycle within a Venus retrograde cycle. So that, of course, means that there's definitely going to be people in your past that are showing up, and, they could be past lovers, husbands, wives, bosses, anything, parents, friends that you've known for, maybe even somebody from 10 years ago pops up. But what I wanted to talk about especially was that some of you may notice that maybe there's somebody in your past and they just keep continuously coming up in your reads, and they're still coming up, and they're still coming up. And maybe you're an astrologer yourself, studying astrology, or maybe you're a tarot reader yourself, and you may not be any of these things at all. Maybe you're just naturally, very psychic or very intuitive, and you can feel that person's energy pulling on you. And you feel that, even though you may well be quite finished with that individual, their energy is still showing up in your field. So, or in all these tarot readers, energy. And so what does that mean? Well, it's not too difficult to figure out, and you probably already realize that, yes, I'm finished with that person. I've been finished with that person for 2 years, for 5 years, for 10. And, well, maybe that person went and got married in the interim, and then now they're getting a divorce. And now they're thinking, wow, what happened to Sue? Where did Joe go? Maybe things weren't so bad with that person. I'd like to find that person and see if I can't get together with that person, or see if the door is still open. So nonetheless, that energy is prevalent, and it still keeps coming up, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so sick and tired of seeing this. Well, yeah, it can seem a little bit exacerbating right now, because when you have another Mercury retrograde cycle coming up within a Venus retrograde cycle, the love planet, it just, because Mercury is planet of mind, you're, mentally, and if it's not you, and maybe you're that person thinking about someone from your past that you'd like to see again, and or vice versa, whichever resonates with you. And it's, it's really, the best way I can compare it to is like a moon Mars, astrologically speaking, whether the moon is conjunct Mars or opposing Mars or squaring Mars. The moon does move through a different sign every 2.5 days. So what does that mean? It's like there's another theme that's going through. So like the moon was in Capricorn. I think it's still in later Capricorn today, but and yesterday it would have been opposing Mars and Cancer in the sky. So that combination is very impulsive, it's very compulsive, and it does seem to rile people's energies, get people's feathers ruffled, if you will. And so it's a really forceful energy. It is definitely a cycle known where people can, argue, become more bickering and more argumentative. And then the fact that we have Mercury retrograde, that just exacerbates it. So we have these thoughts and feelings almost becoming obsessive, really compulsive, where they're so internalized, you just can't get these thoughts out of your mind and stop thinking about it or thinking about that person. And so I get it, I'm one of those people that in my particular circumstance, the person I'm referring to is definitely not somebody that I want back in my life. And we're going to talk about a number of things on this channel, not only narcissism, because I've certainly experienced that for decades. I'm going to say decades, where it wasn't actually termed narcissism back then, but I had to actually let go of certain members of my family because I just, the level of lying and the deception that was going on, I just didn't want to be any part of that. And that's a hard thing to do when it's your members of family, your own family, and you're saying, okay, well, how much bullshit, let me just put it bluntly, are you really willing to take? There comes a time when you have to draw the line and just say, you know what, I don't care if this is my sister, my brother, my mother, my father, my uncle, whoever it might be. This is just completely unacceptable. So we're going to be talking about some of those subjects as well as I started reading tarot way back, actually before I started studying astrology, and I also started reading a regular card deck before then as well, like a 52 card deck. So I still do that today. I still read tarot. I don't call myself a tarot reader. Yes, I definitely know the meaning of the cards, but in my opinion, there's certainly better tarot readers out there than myself. And at some point, I will mention some of those on this channel. Not that they're, that I have so much of a following, it's going to make a difference, because some of these people are really, really good at what they do and have a substantial following. But, it's good to get some of those names out there. So for some of the people that maybe are looking for a good tarot reader and don't have one. So, but there are some of the cards that I'm outside right now, so I'm not going to pull those up now, but there are going to be some cards that I'm going to pull out. One of them certainly the Magician. Another one is the Devil, because the Devil, a lot of tarot readers, or all of them, I will say, always want to relate that to Capricornian energy. And it certainly is. However, it is also related to Scorpio energy. And there's a difference in how those two energies can be obsessed, have issues with obsession. One technically is obsession. The other is not obsession, but it appears that way, and I will psychologically break it down so that you're able to actually see and know what the difference is. So sorry for a little bit of the wobbliness here. I didn't bring my stand out here, so I'm holding this and my arm's getting tired. But I'm going to go over in depth some of those. Another one that comes to mind that still keeps coming up in my reads that has nothing to do with what's actually going on in my life. So I know that that's someone else's energy. And that is in the other tarot deck. I'm trying to think of which one it is. Not the Kipper deck. It's one similar to that, where it's the false person. It's the woman with a fan in front of her face, and there's a man behind her. It's clearly a man with not a mask, but like a blindfold on, like a mask over his eyes. So I'm going to definitely talk about that, because that is certainly a relevant card. So anyhow, I just wanted to get something to post. I'm just going to say this because Mercury and Venus retrograde, I've been having some technical issues. So I've taped about 5 or 6 videos that I still haven't posted. And so I'm going to be getting those up very soon as I stop having these technical issues. So, okay, bye for now, and we'll catch up with you soon. Bye-bye.